Hello, I'm State Representative Janine Nodder, and this week on Chatting with Janine, I have the Honorable Gary Daniels. Do I call you the Honorable or Senator? I didn't look it up in the book before you came, but welcome, Gary.
Either one's fine. Thank you, Janine. Good to be back here again.
Thank you. I have a book called Further Ado, written by the first female Speaker of the New Hampshire House, Donna Sitek, and in it is the correct way to address someone who's been in office and when they leave office. So a state representative is honorable for the rest of their lives, and you were a state representative, so I could call you honorable. But then you were our state senator, so now I just had my mind went blank, and I'm like, oh my goodness, are you honorable or are you senator?
I think it's just governor and U.S. senator that keep the titles.
Well, after November, I would like to be able to call you Senator Gary Daniels again.
Well, thank you.
So that's why you're here, because we need to talk to the good folks in Merrimack and other areas where you served and hopefully will serve again, and convince them that they really should put you back in there to be one of the 24 New Hampshire state senators.
Would love that.
Thank you. Well, this might not be a nice thing to say, but the new members in the state legislature that serve our area seem to have ridden in on a Trojan horse and then proceeded to vote as far left as they could, for higher taxes, bigger government, taking guns away, and it's disappointing.
There's a lot of issues I see that looking in from the sideline, my vote would be different. We'll put it that way. Mm-hmm. I have been watching what's going on, and I know Merrimack is still struggling with water issues, and I believe something needs to be done. I intend to follow and have been following what's going on with that, watching the bills as they've come through Concord.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad you brought up the water, because that was the campaign message for the freshman legislators for this term. What is it, 2, 3, 4, 5? What year? I started in the 162nd state legislature, so 5 from that. 5, it's the 167th. So the freshmen for the 167th state legislature campaigned on the water issue, and they were all over social media. And I'm not comfortable going on social media, and I don't have time to spend 24/7 reading every little message, every little comment on Facebook, but I saw some out there, and it just seemed like there was the battle cry was the Republicans have done nothing, they've done nothing, they've done nothing, and that is not true. And I have with me a list of the bills that were passed as to address the water issue. And we focused on what we knew. We didn't just throw money at a problem like, oh, there's a panic there. I think this kid is sick. Oh, it has to be the water, so we spend money. It's like, but you can't do that. You have to have facts first. So starting in 2016, we established the Drinking Water and Groundwater Trust Fund and established the New Hampshire Drinking Water Advisory Commission, and you supported that.
I did.
So it's a lie to say that we did nothing, because all the way back in 2016, your name is right here.
and I know that has been then Senate President Chuck Morse's, one of his primary projects in going through in the past few years was the establishment of that drinking water fund, the committee that went along with it, and I mean to this day he continues to work with it and guide it and make sure that we have safe drinking water mm-hmm. in the communities, and that we're funded from the state when necessary.
Well, I've said it many times, and I'll say it again. I've never trusted tap water, and I've always avoided it. I just, I remember having neighbors that would make fun of me, like, why do you get bottled water? There's nothing wrong with our water. I'm like, you can go ahead and drink it if you want. I don't know what's in it, so. I guess because, and I've said this before too, because I'm from California, California water. It used to give me a stomach ache. I remember being in school and I'd get a drink of water and my stomach would just hurt. It's like, who knows what was in it? So I've always had this aversion, and I've always given my kids bottled water. And now nobody wants tap water.
I have a spring-fed well, so I grew up with it, bought my parents' property, so I've got the same well as we've always had, and
And there's so many different opinions about the water. I've talked to people from Merrimack who said they've lived here 30 years and they've always drank tap water and they've never had a problem. And
Well, I don't push the issues aside because I think it's one that people take seriously. You know, my concern is that, and just as you stated, that they need to be able to take data, decide, you know, what if has somebody been sick because of the water? I mean,
well, we don't know, and
well,
then we have no way to prove it, and so maybe somebody did get sick from the water, but somebody over here has the same issue and they didn't drink the water. So how do you prove it?
Well,
It's really hard, and we have to have the facts. And none of us want anyone to get sick, and everybody wants clean water. And I just thought it was, I couldn't believe it that people would think that we didn't care.
No, I mean, I don't think there's anyone that doesn't, that has that opinion that they don't care about it. When concerns come up, especially, you know, when the concerns are about your health and those of your family, I mean, you take them seriously. But you know, we need to be diligent. We need to go and do our research. We need to make sure that the things that we're doing are actually doing things that we're taking money and putting it where it's going to be effective, because it doesn't do any good for anyone to be able to take a chunk of money and put it over somewhere and the same thing continues to happen. So we need to do our research. We need to take it step at a time. And I do get concerned about the, you know, let's jump from this point to this point just because that seems like the right thing to do.
Well, you know, there is a big issue when people get create a panic and just having it in the mindset that the water's bad, that can make you sick too. It's like a psychological thing. The same thing with the pipeline. When they were proposing to put that in, I had neighbors who were so upset by it that they couldn't sleep at night. And I mean, they really were panicked. And so I had to vote with the way they wanted me to, just to put their mind at ease.
Yeah, and that was an issue that I was involved with, and I listened, and I took my time doing the research on that, and I had numerous talks with Liberty Utilities, and when they had the FERC, the Federal, I forget what the acronym stands for, but you know, those were the ones in charge federally. But when they came over to Milford, I mean, it was at that time. By then, I had done months of research and figured out that there was no benefit to any of the communities that I represented, and so I gave my testimony at that time to FERC that
Federal Environmental Regulatory Commission.
There we go. That I would not support that because there was no benefit to it. You know, they couldn't guarantee us, and that was the question I was asking. Can you guarantee that there will be a benefit to any of the communities that I represent? And I asked that question numerous times, and it took months of research and talking with people, and I was criticized for taking so long to do it, but I felt comfortable.
And to this day, you're still being criticized on social media again, and you know, I don't know what the people do for a living that they have time to be on Facebook 24/7. I wish I knew. It's good work if you can get it.
Well, yeah, I'm just a person who does my research first, and then I'll make my decision based on that.
And looking at the big picture, you have a very good voting record. You've always voted for less taxes, less government, always a strong supporter of the Second Amendment, and we could go on.
I pay taxes too.
Well, yeah, we have some more bills that we passed before the 162nd state legislature, which is the one I'm currently serving in. In 2017, there was House Bill 463, which regulated groundwater pollution caused by polluting emissions in the air and relative to standards for emerging contaminants in drinking water. And that passed, and it went to Science, Tech, and Energy, which was my committee, and then it passed on a voice vote. So you believe you were in the Senate then, in 2017? And the Senate, this is what happened. The Senate tried to, not you, but someone else, tried to attach another bill to House Bill 463, which was unworkable, and House Bill 463 failed in a committee of conference. So Do you remember, do you want to explain what a committee of conference is for our viewers?
Yeah, a committee of conference is simply a committee of House members and Senate members who get together once a bill has passed one chamber, but then changed and passed in another chamber.
So the House and the Senate.
So you're
yeah.
dealing with two different bills, the House and the Senate. And House and Senate conferees, is what they call the members, get together to see if they can come up with some sort of compromise.
And if they don't, then the bill dies.
If they don't, the bill dies.
Is that also known as horse trading at the end?
Well,
Depends on-
I don't call it that, but I mean, sometimes they do it in earnest and trying to find a compromise. Other times, I've been on committees of conference where there was just no interest.
Yeah, I think I've only been on one, and that was for the Honor and Remember flag. I never liked that flag because I heard from a Vietnam vet that it looks like the Viet Cong flag. And I'm like, well, then I don't want that thing. But that's another issue, and that's another show. Then House Bill 485 was relative to standards for emerging contaminants in drinking water and relative to standards of PFOAs in drinking water, ambient groundwater, and surface water. Then Representative Chris Christensen and Representative Dick Hinch special ordered the bill to the floor, knowing it had two flaws, but with the intent to demonstrate widespread support for the clean water issues. The bill passed by a vote of 335 to 29 and was sent to Finance. The flaws in the bills were, 1, nonspecific goals, simply naming emerging contaminants, and 2, tried to set specific standards by RSA, rule of law, instead of rules. And 3, it did not ask for a funding appropriation. Fiscal information was requested by the Finance Committee. What was slow in coming, and the bill was retained for more fiscal information. MVD estimated that it would cost them $14 to $18 million to conform. I don't recall that bill. I don't know if you do.
I don't know that I recall that either. I mean, it's state price.
And then 2018, you'll remember this one because Representative Hinch was the prime sponsor, along with then Representative Chris Christensen, Dick Berry, and Representative Dick Berry, Representative Bob LaRue, and several others from around the state. They only had room for so many, so my name wasn't on here because they wanted to get reps from other areas like Byron, Representative Byron, I'm not sure where he's from, and others from around the state. But this was House Bill 1100. Yep. It regulating groundwater pollution caused by polluting emissions in the air and relative to standards for PFOAs in drinking water, ambient groundwater, and surface water. It's perfluorochemicals. That's PFOAs.
PFOAs, yeah.
The comprehensive bill included the Clean Air Regulatory Authority from House Bill 463 and required the Department of Environmental Services to review specific PFCs and proposed new rules by January 1st, 2019. It appropriated additional funds to DES to hire staff for this and other purposes. It addressed the flaws of House Bill 485. Having paved the way following reports from 2 House committees, Science, Tech and Energy, and Resources, Recreation, and Development, chaired by Representatives Berry and Christensen, and 2 Senate committees, chaired by you, Gary Daniels, and Senator Kevin Avard. House Bill 1100 passed with 4 favorable voice votes. And then there was House Bill 309. There was no detail, but that one was the Senate version of 1100.
Okay.
Yes, and the governor went to the Seacoast to sign Senate Bill 309, and he came to Merrimack to sign 1100.
Do you remember that?
So, and then there's also one more note. Also note that the Clean Drinking and Groundwater Committee gave DES $500,000 to conduct tests all around the state to get a better handle on what additional problems and solutions might be found in New Hampshire. So those are my notes on everything that transpired before this term.
And we have done a lot. It is an issue that needs to be taken seriously. Since I have been out of office, I have gone through certification as a water operator.
I did not know that.
Now, and I will be taking further classes on PFOAs in March. So
Excellent.
I want to get a better understanding of just what's happening and be able to contribute to a solution.
Good, because I think we know a lot more now than we did at the beginning. And I've also learned that if the viewers go to the Merrimack Town Council website, they can follow the whole trail from when the contamination first happened and what they had to learn about, and it's still ongoing. And unfortunately, we can't just flip a switch and fix everything.
Yeah, if they were all that easy, then.
And just throwing money at it, it doesn't help. It makes you feel like you're doing something, but you have to know where the money's going and what it's going to do.
Truly believe that money has to be in the right place. I agree.
Exactly. So you've been campaigning?
We've been busy, yes.
Yeah.
We've been going around talking to various groups, talking to people, and getting an understanding of what's foremost in their minds.
And what is foremost on?
days.
What are you hearing?
Well, it's a variety because it depends on what age group you talk to. Certainly, people in our age group, they're still concerned with homes, things like that. They're still concerned with the taxes going up. Businesses are still would love to see the continuation of the progress that we made in deregulating things so that they could do business and make a profit. So those are certainly high issues for one group. I've been working with an 11th grade student in Wilton Lineborough School, and she recently did some research and talked to people 17 to 25-year-olds, and some of their issues they came back with, the climate change in the environment,
Yes, that's a biggie.
student debt. Interesting, because I think we see bills going on now, but the legal age, where there are bills that try to move the legal age to 21.
Yes.
Their comment is, hey, look, if we're old enough to put on a uniform and die for our country,
Right, they should be able to have a
seems
beer and
shouldn't be able
vape.
to have a beer and buy a pack of cigarettes
Yes.
if they wanted.
And I agree.
And things like let's see, I mentioned the student debt.
I know before the show we were talking, I was jotting down notes, we were talking about property tax tolls and $46 million and millions of dollars taken from the drinking water fund. Now, who voted for that? Not me.
Yeah. No, it was actually very, very interesting to see because that's all we heard a lot particularly in Merrimack during the last campaign about how important drinking water was, and so you make all this effort, you go in, you put in these bills, you get bills passed to try to make things better, and then they go and raid the drinking water fund of several $1 million to do something else in environmental services. I mean, it kind of sends a double standard as to, okay, I thought you were really concerned about the water here. If you're really concerned, why are you taking money away from it?
Yeah. And this 46 million, what is that? I
Oh,
put that in my notes.
that has to do with the charter schools, and
Oh, yeah.
education. Again, kind of ironic that Democrats ran last time saying that they were running to lower your property taxes, but when it came time where they had an opportunity to get $46 million for at-risk students, which ironically the Commissioner of Education is required by law to apply for that grant. He got accepted. When it came to the fiscal committee, I know that my replacement was on one of that fiscal committees and voted to table it. And then the next time they voted not to accept it. And it's such a hypocrisy to say that you're interested in lowering property taxes, but then when there's help out there that can help some at-risk students, you choose to turn it away. Well, it doesn't take away the problem. I mean, you still have at-risk students. I mean, I just went through. I had a talk with my superintendent in Milford. I mean, we've got problems with reading level.
I was
42%.
Somebody just sent me a screenshot of some Facebook postings in Milford, and people having a problem with the schools there too, with spending all this money, and where's it going? What are you doing with it? And that's happening in Merrimack as well.
Well, it's just that the only way that you can take care of the students that are still at risk, if you're not taking that 46 million is to raise the property taxes so that you can get it. So, you know.
Well, I know some want a broad-based tax, like an income tax or sales tax, but that doesn't help because the other taxes don't go away. That's what happened in New Jersey. In New Jersey, back when they started, you know, the broad-based taxes. Now they just pay all those taxes, so our property taxes aren't going to go down.
Yeah, there's a very interesting study from 1948. It was actually one of the first things I read when I first got elected to the legislature. It was a study by a professor at Dartmouth named Colin Campbell. And it was a study of Vermont and New Hampshire, which are very similar in size.
Oh, they're upside down
just
over
turned
there.
upside down. But in 1948, Vermont instituted one of their taxes, and I don't recall if it was an income tax or a sales tax. But you could see the split start to go between Vermont and New Hampshire, and then they later brought in the other one, and you know the gap got wider, and it was just very interesting to see how you don't lower taxes by raising taxes.
Right. I know. So I know one of the Democrats called it a shell game. Well, you raise taxes here, but then you can lower them over there, but you're still paying taxes, and then this one comes back, and they just keep raising them all over. So I just don't see how that works. I'd rather see less government.
Agreed.
Yes. So Gary, we have about 5 minutes left. I'm going to let you lead the charge because you probably want to speak directly to the viewers or whatever you want to say.
Okay, thank you, Janine. Yeah, my name is Gary Daniels. I served in the House for 18 years before serving in the Senate for 4 years. This last term, I have been out, but have been active locally. I've been a selectman in Milford for 17 years, having served on the school board for 6 years there, and also a school district moderator. So I've got a very good sense of when someone goes to Concord. You know, if I go to Concord, I understand when I'm voting on something how it's going to affect the local government. And I think that's something that a lot of people, including my opponent, could not say. And it really makes a big difference when you're up there and you're voting on something and you know this is going to hurt your communities. You vote no on it. You're up there to represent your communities. So, you know, I do have a website at garydaniels.org. I would invite you to go there, look at my issues. I would reach out to you and solicit your input. I'd be glad to talk to anyone on any issue. I think that I don't have all the answers. I know I don't have all the answers, but I think working together as a community, as groups on particular issues, that we can find those solutions that we're looking for. And so I would not only solicit your input and your comments to help out, to help me understand issues, but I would also ask for your vote when it comes down to the time when the primary and the general election. Thank you.
Well, Gary, you have my vote. You convinced me. Well, you had it before, too.
Thank you, Janine.
And thank you for watching. We're a few minutes left, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And I don't know which camera's on, so I'll look in this one, say thank you for watching, and I'll be back.